What's up, everybody? How's it going? I'm your friendly internet goth host, Rob Diavalos, the host with the most, babe. Lately, I've been in a rather nostalgic mood, so I thought it'd be cool today to do a little video on something that brings back some very fond memories. We all grew up watching cartoons as kids, but I think it's a fair statement to make that some cartoons in particular appealed more to the goth alternative kids more than others. Well, I guess a more accurate phrase would have been kids on their way to becoming goth or alt. And especially when it comes to my generation, which is Gen Y, I would argue that we had some of the best cartoons. And so for today, I'm going to be introducing 10 cartoons that Gen Y goths grew up with. And just to verify, Gen Y refers to kids born between the mid-1980s and mid-1990s, so the list is only including cartoons that were released in the late 80s to the very early 2000s, and I mean like no later than 2003. I also want to add that this list does not include claymation or digital animation, so no, I'm sorry, Nightmare Before Christmas is not on here. This list only includes cartoon-style animation specifically. And I'm going to start off with my all-time favorite, Courage the Cowardly Dog. Out of all the series that aired on Cartoon Network in the late 90s, Courage was the one that I watched consistently. That one and Johnny Bravo, that show was so funny. I also really loved Dexter's Laboratory and Ed, Edd n Eddy too, but Courage was my favorite. Courage the Cowardly Dog was an American animated series about a dog that lives with an elderly couple named Eustace and Muriel in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. Throughout the series, Courage protects his owners from different spooky characters in a very dark and dreary atmospheric setting. It's so incredibly funny, especially when he screams because he's got that little hole in his tooth. Almost every goth I've ever known that's around my age grew up watching Courage. I also felt like I really correlated a lot with him growing up as well, because I always tried to help or go out of my way for others only to be met with disrespect or cruelty. So I feel that to my very core every time he goes,
"The things I do for love."
Sorry guys, uno momento, coffee break. My throat is still a little bit sore after being sick a couple of weeks ago. My God, this winter has just about ended me. Moving on. Up next is Invader Zim. Here's another one that was an absolute guarantee. Invader Zim was an American dark comedy series that aired on Nickelodeon about an alien that comes to conquer Earth but is thwarted by his own incompetence. And also typically by his little malfunctioning robot pet named Gurr and a human that's aware of his identity named Gib. The show was also created by Yonan Vasquez, who also happens to be the creator of the comic series Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, which was a staple for adolescent goths. I used to read that series all the time in high school. I actually still have the full volume edition to this day.
Hello there. Say, I couldn't help but notice the number on your house, 777. That's funny. Is that supposed to be like the number for heaven or something? Does this look like heaven?
And coming up next, we've got All Real Monsters. This show was so underrated. It really wasn't that popular compared to other earlier shows on Nickelodeon. All Real Monsters was another American animated series that focuses on 3 young monsters who attend school to learn how to scare humans. The show is centered around the group's hijinks as they receive scare assignments and frequently fail. It also happens to be the 5th ever Nicktoon created after Doug, Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy, and Rocko's Modern Life. Now at number 4, we've got The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Going back to Cartoon Network for a minute, this show is another absolute must for the list. The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy was an American animated series that focuses on 2 children whom, after winning a game to save Billy's pet hamster, gain the Grim Reaper as a best friend. Set in the fictional town of Innsville, the Reaper serves the 2 children and often leads them to engage in supernatural situations. I absolutely love Grim, and the fact that he has a Jamaican accent just makes it that much better. He is so damn funny.
I assure you, your suspicions are completely unfounded. Mandy and I are only here to help you.
And now we're at Gargoyles. This one was definitely more of an elder Gen Y show, but I was born in '92 and I still remember it vividly, even with being as young as I was when it aired. And I had all the action figures. I had every single one of them. I remember playing with those things every day. Gargoyles was an animated TV series that aired in the early 90s and was co-produced by Walt Disney Television Animation. The show is centered around a group of nocturnal gargoyles that exist as stone statues during the day but come to life by night. Transported to New York York City from Scotland after a 1,000-year-old sleep, the creatures have now reawakened in modern times and have assumed the roles as secret protectors of the city. The show is noted for its dark setting and undertones, as well as Shakespearean themes and story arcs saturated with melodrama. Up next, we've got Beetlejuice. Yes, for all those that were apparently unaware, he did have an animated series. The Beetlejuice animated series aired between 1989 and 1991 on ABC and Fox Network. And it is loosely based on the film by director Tim Burton, who created and served as an executive producer for the show. The plot follows Beetlejuice and Lydia Deetz on their adventures through the mortal and spiritual regions and the interesting creatures they meet along the way. Every Gen Y goth kid grew up with the movie, and if you grew up with the movie, then chances are you probably grew up with the show as well. And now we're at Tales from the Crypt Keeper. If you're a fan of the live-action Tales from the Crypt, then chances are you've probably heard of the animated series as well, but if you haven't, my God. Tales from the Crypt Keeper was a Canadian animated series that was broadcasted on ABC in America in the mid-1990s. It's essentially a milder, more kid-friendly adaptation to the live-action show that follows spooky stories that are narrated by the Crypt Keeper. I really enjoy anthology films and series, and it first started when I saw Creepshow as a kid, which I also really loved the series that they created on Shudder as well. Coming up at number 8, we've got the spooktacular new adventures of Casper. Casper the Friendly Ghost has been a staple of cartoon animation since the 1940s. But following the live-action film in 1995, a spin-off series was aired on Fox Kids Network that was more directly inspired off of the original Harvey Comics cartoon character. The show also revived old characters such as Casper's cousin Spooky and his ghoul friend, Pearl. I will admit that I definitely preferred the older Casper cartoons growing up, but this one was definitely cool too in its own way. Up next, we're now at the Addams Family. Yes, they had a cartoon spin-off as well. The Addams Family animated series was a spin-off of the Addams Family live-action movie and was produced by none other than Hanna-Barbera. And if you're familiar with any of the Addams Family films or shows, then you'll know exactly the type of humor and the setting. Now, there were only 21 episodes produced in total, but if you're goth and you were a kid in the early to mid-90s, chances are you either watched or were very familiar with the show. And last but not least, we've got Batman the Animated Series. And I'm sure that this one came as no surprise. Batman has always been a staple in goth cinema, and this show in particular was enjoyed by so many friends I had growing up. The series aired on Fox Kids Network and follows the original story plot of the renowned DC comic character. It also received much praise for its complex storytelling as well as dealing with many real-life issues. Now, I will admit, when it comes to vigilante comic characters, my favorite was always Spawn, and I actually enjoyed watching the animated Spawn series far more than Batman. But in the grand scheme, I feel like this one was definitely more of a popular choice, and it's definitely a fantastic series, but me personally, my vote would have been for Spawn. Now, there were a couple of runner-ups that I kind of struggled with a little bit, and the main one is probably going to be Danny Phantom. As I was saying before, any shows that were released after about 2002 or 3 wouldn't really qualify because Gen Y roughly ranges between 1984 and 1994, give or take. So by the time that show aired, most Gen Y kids would have been roughly entering their teenage years. But I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If it brought you some nostalgia, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel to stay updated on future content. Also, feel free to leave a comment below and let me know if there's any others that I might have overlooked that I, for some reason, just didn't come to mind. And also, don't forget, if you'd like to keep up with me personally, you can always follow me on Instagram at TheRealDiavolos. And no, I don't have a Threads in case you're curious about the link on my profile. I tried it out, found it to be ultimately pointless, so I deleted it, but for some reason the link just keeps reappearing, so I don't know. I don't really do too much social media anyway. The only platforms you're going to find me on is going to be Instagram or Facebook. Thank you all so much, guys. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, stay safe, stay spooky. Peace!